I'd like to introduce Isaiah Oliver. He's the president and CEO of the Community Foundation of Greater Flint. With that, Isaiah, would you introduce your team and kick this conversation off?
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Stephen. We appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak with you all. I would like to introduce Sue Peters, who you probably see on your screen above you. She's Vice President of Community Impact at the Foundation, and Karima Amlani, who is Transitional Vice President of Development at the Community Foundation. I think I'm pitch hitting here, and then I'll jump right to them. But I'm here to just talk a little bit about this fund. But before talking about the fund, I'll just tell you a little bit about your local community foundation. So I get the great opportunity of serving as president and CEO of the Community Foundation. The organization has been in your community for 30 years. We manage about over 700 unique funds from over 20,000 donors who represent folks from all 50 states, 15 different countries all over the world, who support and love the folks in the Flint area, the 425,000 people who live in Genesee County. Just last year, we did about $10.5 million in grants. We supported over 250 nonprofit organizations, and we made over 600 unique grants out. So we're excited about the work that we're doing right now, and we're extremely excited about the work that we're able to do in response to COVID-19. So the Greater Flint Urgent Relief Fund was established by a coalition of philanthropic government and business partners to quickly coordinate and deploy resources to nonprofit organizations in the Greater Flint area that are working with communities disproportionately affected by the coronavirus. The fund itself was started by a number of individuals and in partnership with United Way of Genesee County. We have to give kudos and thanks to Jamie Gaskin, Jamie Lee Venable, and some of the folks on the ground, your Terry Blakes and Jeanette Cottons, that are actually doing the work at United Way. United Way found a way during the height of the water crisis to be on the front lines, established tons of credibility as being a group that understood what was happening in the trenches, and they've joined us on this ride to be partners on the fund, and so we're excited to be partnering with them. Genesee County nonprofit organizations can access resources from this through a grant application, and that process is played out on our website. It's loveflint, LOVEFLINT.org, and we're hoping that we're going to get funding decisions within an 8 to 10 day window. The goal there is to be as flexible and as nimble as possible, ensuring that the critical services that are received by those most at risk in our community is received through those nonprofit organizations that are on the front lines doing work. Again, the fund was established in partnership with the United Way of Genesee County. We plan to award grants on a regular basis to nonprofits addressing the gaps that are surfacing in key areas, increase key services for our most vulnerable community members. The Community Foundation and United Way will ensure that the fund has maximum scope and impact, and fund partners, who I'll describe later, encourage institutions, companies, and other donors to contribute to this fund. Before I roll out some of those fund partners and what their functions have been, I'll say that we have established 3 priority areas. Sue Peters will talk a bit more about those 3 priority areas, but I'll run through them very quickly here. One is assisting with immediate and anticipated direct service needs and gaps. The second is maintaining and expanding internal operations and infrastructure for critical nonprofits that are on the front lines responding to this crisis. And the last one is supporting costs associated with additional volunteer capacity as needed in this time of crisis, understanding that people need more hands on deck, and it's really hard to come by when we're under a shelter at home. You might hear my kids in the background a little bit. I'm sheltering at home with an amazing family who loves me and who has no respect for the fact that this might be work time. Our fund partners, I have to give kudos to the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. They came through with a $500,000 grant within the first couple of days of the fund being open. The City of Flint has been an amazing partner with us in this work. The Flint Genesee Chamber of Commerce. So thank you again, Stephen. Thank you, Tim Herman and Christina Johnston and the team over at the Chamber. They've been blasting through their social media. They helped to set up this platform today for us to speak to you all about the fund. And so thank you to the Flint Chamber of Commerce for all of their support. We have the Hagerman Foundation and the Ruth Mott Foundation have both been supporters of this work along the way. And I have to give thanks to Hurley Medical Center, who has just joined as a fund partner. They have tons of folks that are on the front lines responding to this work, and they have agreed to use their social media presence and their connections to docs and professionals in the space to lift up the credibility of the fund, but also support the work that we're doing. So thank you to them. Inquiries about the fund and general questions should be directed to relieffund.org. Sue may talk a little bit more about this, but I wanted to get that out front. RELIEFFUND at cfgf.org. So relieffund@cfgf.org is where all questions should go. And I'll end this by saying that folks who are interested in learning more, understanding more about the fund that are not available for this podcast, you can direct them to the Community Foundation of Greater Flint, loveflint.org, or cfgf.org. And there are a few folks that I think it's important for them to talk to. If you're interested in giving a gift, and you're hearing a lot more in the coming moments about the opportunities to give of time, talent, and treasure to making this work happen, you want to connect with Karima Amlani, who I introduced earlier. If you want to know more about how to communicate about the fund or to contact us to share with us things that we should be communicating regarding the fund, we'd like you to connect with Mary Jo Herbig at herbig@cfgf.org. And if you have grant inquiries, I'm sure Sue is going to direct everyone to Stephanie Whitledge, and I'm sure you get information. Before I get deeper into the weeds than I need to be, I'm going to hand this over to Sue Peters, who is leading the work not only on the ground, but organizing the work with our advisory committee that's advising grants, and that will be meeting 3 times a week to review proposals and get those things out, again, as flexible and nimble as possible as we can be with this fund. But Sue, you have the floor, and thank you.
Thank you, Isaiah. And thank you all for joining us and taking the time. I know even though we're working remotely, sometimes it seems busier than ever, right? So I just wanted to underscore a few things that Isaiah said that I think are worth repeating. One, though, just to share a bit of the context is, unfortunately or fortunately, we have experience in this space. I actually came over to the Community Foundation during the water crisis when we were creating the Flint Kids Fund. So we know we've operated in this space before, partnered with these partners before. And as Isaiah had said in a recent op-ed, here we go again, right? But so that's what we'll use that experience, and we're excited to use that experience. We also relied heavily on what our counterparts were doing throughout the nation. We have a number of community foundations, as you might know, that were also releasing funds and establishing funds. So a lot of the language that we use for this fund, and you're going to see in the application, were used and borrowed from some of our colleagues. So, but from that, again, we're excited for the partners, where we want to be as nimble as possible. Definitely all of those things that Isaiah said, and I think we're pretty well positioned to do that. So I wanted to underscore first the 3 priorities that Isaiah mentioned, and just to walk through them a little more slowly, and if, definitely so that if you have questions later, we can share those. But the first is assisting with immediate and anticipated direct service need gaps. So those are the nonprofits who are really providing those basic needs. We've definitely seen kind of 2 buckets of needs. We started meeting as a committee, and let me tell you who's on that committee so you know. It's Jamie Gaskin from the United Way, Jamie Lee from the United Way. I'm serving on the committee. Isaiah is serving on the committee. And then we have Kimberly Roberson and Greg Viner from Huntington Bank. And then also Leanne Panduran, who's our board chair, is also sitting in a capacity on that committee. So those are the members who are meeting regularly to make the decisions. But so what we've been talking about, we met originally. We're seeing kind of 2 big buckets right now, at least initially, and that's been really around food and some of those basic needs. What I've been telling folks is, if you're making sure that the requests that you send in can show a direct relation from your services that you're providing to the COVID-19 response. So, we know a number of folks have programs and they were maybe going to go online, but if it's the reason you're going online is the fact that it's tied to the COVID response, those are the types of things. Being able to support you or the grantee to be able to get the services done, that's what we're looking for in that one. Maintaining or expanding internal operations and infrastructure for critical nonprofits. In my mind, I see this as a couple of things. Maintaining the internal operations. There were some groups that we had some initial conversations with that needed to make some improvements in order to provide services in a different way to help in the crisis. It could be maybe making sure that their staff were remote, maybe making sure that the services they were providing could be online because there's no longer a way to meet as a group. Those were the types of things. We also, of course, have actually, of course, have had a number of general operating requests. We want to definitely look at those. I know that our nonprofits are definitely struggling. And I think the challenge is going to be how do we meet the needs of all of those nonprofits in the general operating, because we've had a number of requests that are probably going to, be over what we have total in the fund. But so we're looking for those nonprofits that are really critical to making sure that we can get through the other side of this crisis. And then finally, supporting costs associated with additional volunteer capacity as needed in a time of crisis. This one, I think, will also be a bit of a challenge during this crisis. As you know, it's been hard for some of our nonprofits to get volunteers, so we're going to have to be creative. I've had some nonprofits talk to me a little bit about possibly providing stipends for their volunteers. So those are just those. I just wanted to underscore the 3 priorities. Again, walk you through them and maybe provide some examples. Our thought is that we're hoping they're broad enough to meet the needs of this crisis, but that we would already have them in place if another crisis happens in the future. So we're trying to be general, but still applicable very much to the crisis. So we wanted to walk you through those again and give you a couple of examples of what we've been hearing from nonprofits, at least to date. So then just to underscore, yes. So to remind you that we did release the application. It's on our website. We also did an email blast, and now we wanted to talk to you about it, but the application is open. We tried to make it as streamlined and as simple as possible. If it's not, please let us know, but we really just boiled it down to about 4 or 5 questions, again, based on what a number of other funders or funds had been doing. So really just basically about what you're working on, who you're working with, and who you're targeting. And then as a very simple budget template. So again, that is available. If you have any questions, Stephanie Whitledge or I am available. Stephanie Whitledge is our grant administrator. If you've had a grant from us or worked with us before, you've probably encountered Stephanie, but I'm also here as well. Our contact information is on our website. I will give you mine. It is speters@cfgf.org. That's my email. And my phone is 810-767-3519. So again, both of us definitely can answer questions about grants. We can answer any questions about completing the application. And we'll definitely be responsive, again, because our idea right now is to have an open and rolling application process. And so what that means is the committee has agreed to meet 3 or 4 times a week as needed. And the intention is to get you a response or a commitment within probably 8 to 10 days, if not quicker. So we want to make sure, again, that we can get a quick response back to you. And then I think I wanted to remind you of some of the basic eligibility criteria that go with any of our grants are also going to apply to these grants. You have to have a 501c3 status and a clear charitable purpose. And again, that's what we require of our typical grantees, which will carry through to this relief fund. This fund does not grant to individuals. I know that there are a number of individuals suffering, but we fund nonprofits who fund and work with individuals directly. So at this point, we're not able to support individuals. And then the funds cannot be used for partisan efforts. So that's just in general what I wanted to walk you through, a reminder of what the 3 priorities are for the fund. If you or if you know of any nonprofits that are going to be applying, to remind them to make their request related to one of those strategies of the fund. And then also that some of those basic requirements that we're expecting of our grantees are in place for this. And just know that we want to be as responsive as possible. We want to get these applications and grant decisions made quickly, as well as answer any of the questions that any applicants may have as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Stephen.
Thanks, Sue. I think Karima, we're hearing from you next.
That would be me. All right. Well, thank you, Sue. I wanted to go back and circle back on our fund partners and thank everyone once again, CS Mott Foundation, the City of Flint. We've got Flint and Genesee Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Stephen. And Hagerman Foundation, newly today, Hurley Medical Center, which is amazing. They're working really hard. United Way of Genesee County. And some of our great contributors to the fund, we've had some people really step up. Health Alliance Plan HAP, thank you Shannon White for matching donations when we were live streaming with Flint's second best DJ, Pete McFray. Martha Piper, the Piper family overall, Bill Piper, Jim and Amy Piper really helped out to get this going. And something that's clear is we do have amazing support here in Flint and nationwide right now, but the needs are far outweighing our resources. And if we really want to make an impact and go above and beyond what we have now, we've got to help out. And it's tough times, and I understand not everybody can do that. Every little bit counts, but if, say, a monetary donation is not where and what's comfortable for your family right now or your organization, we really are looking for fund partners to help join in. So with Isaiah touched base earlier, a fund partner is someone who helps encourage the companies, institutions, and individuals to donate to the fund. So that's something that we are looking forward to, and I will provide my contact information if that's something you guys are interested in, because we would love to do that. It's about liking, sharing, I mean, just sharing the news so we can really make the biggest impact. This is something that's personal for me, personal for all of us. This is our backyard and we want to help take care of it the best we can. So I thank you, Stephen, and everybody, Isaiah, Sue, for all that you guys have done, and we're just going to keep working as hard as we can to make the biggest difference. Thank you.
Thanks, Karima. We do have some questions coming in if Isaiah and the team are ready. The first question that I see, what would be an appropriate ask range?
All right, I've seen all three of the questions, and I only jumped back on to say that they all look like they're appropriate for Sue. Look at that.
Oh, all right. That's
See,
fine.
here I am
saw
thinking
some-
ask for donations.
Stephen, I might need your help in, oh, there we go. Okay.
And Sue?
All right.
So the first one is
Yeah,
what
the first
appropriate
question that
ask
I'm seeing
range?
is, I'm going to read them, Stephen, if that's all right, just so that everyone sees them. Someone said I'm the second best DJ in the world. Oh, no, that one was for Isaiah. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. Will not.
Oh, Sue's frozen at the moment. I think I can help you, Sue, by reading. Will nonprofits be able to submit a second request should the situation continue beyond the current forecast? Isaiah, you're muted as well. There we go.
All right, and I started talking because Sue was frozen. So we'd imagine yes, but I think the reality is right now we have about $700,000 in contributions or gifts and pledges, and we imagine that we'll run out of dollars before we do a second round of proposals. So in theory, yes, that's not a problem at all. As the crisis continues, we'd imagine we continue to make grants so long as we have grants, but I just don't think we'll have grants long enough for folks to do that, especially if they're on the 12-month time frame that I saw in one of the questions earlier.
Thank you, Isaiah. I bumped myself off somehow.
I'm seeing
that's what
in the Q&A and the chat as all of you are reviewing those.
Yeah.
Yep. So
All
Sue, I'll
right.
read the second question for you. There are a few that are coming
Sure.
up. What would be an appropriate ask
for it.
range, provided we have about $700,000 in gifts and we're having a trickle in?
Sure.
It's about
Yeah.
$1 million in total.
And that's a great question. And I'll be real honest, when we put the application together, I kind of wavered back and forth, as did the committee. We decided not to put a grant range, just to leave the flexibility and have folks truly ask what they need. I've seen it in other places where they did have a grant range. So we have our first round of grants in, and we're taking a look at them tomorrow. And I will tell you, they range from 5,000 to 200,000. I can tell you that the 200,000, as you know, that would be like a third of the fund about. So I think realistically, I'm thinking, probably around 50,000 is a guess. That we're going to be figuring it out as we go, again, to be real honest. But if we want to make sure And it's also going to depend a little bit on what comes in as proposals, but and how much we have in the fund. But my guess is we're probably looking closer around, with the amount that we have in, probably around $50,000 as a max. But again, it'll really depend on what we identify as those major gaps, and how much is in the fund and how much is requested. So a bit of a moving target right now. But if you look at that range of 5,000 to 200,000, the 200,000 is very unlikely. And Isaiah, do you have another one, or do you want, are you?
Yep, I can continue to read these. So the second one says, can we develop our project budget on a 12-month time frame? And almost, I think it's kind of asking, do they have to do it on that long of a time frame? And I think the simple answer is no. We imagine that people are trying to figure out what happens over the next few months, not the next year or so. And so those budgets probably need to show what you have the capacity to do, like that your project is charitable. And that's what the budget is really for, not to put you on a restriction on a length of time you need to spend it over.
Yeah, I would agree. We don't want to limit you. And I think the other part that's a little hard to gauge right now is how long this is going to last, right? So I may be thinking about short-term versus long-term. Maybe that's a way to think about it. You'll have to know what's best for the organization. But maybe, there's some short-term needs right now, more immediate, to keep your it depends, to get the services out the door that you want. Maybe that's what you want to think about. Again, it's a little bit of a moving target, so apologize for that, but don't feel limited by any way. Make sure you're asking for what you need.
Isaiah, do you want me to facilitate the Q&A here?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah, let me jump in here. Yeah, did we do this one as the best way to submit an application via email? Have we tackled that one?
No, we didn't, but that is the best way. So you'll see that the application is on our website, and then it goes to relieffund@cfgf.org.
Perfect. Which website do they go to get the application? We just responded there. Can you repeat?
CFG.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to repeat. It's cfgf.org or iloveflint.org, right?
Love Flint.
Love Flint, sorry. Loveflint.org. Thank you, Karima.
Can you repeat the overview introduction of this program? We'll save that for the recording. That'll be posted on our website shortly. Question here, are applications found on Flint Chamber of Commerce? Nope, took care of that one. How might a request to this fund impact our ability to receive funds from other community foundation or United Way funds?
That's a good question. I see this, and then Isaiah, I'm going to have you weigh in as well. I see this as, this is immediate, and it's relief, and it's for kind of the situation that we find ourselves in now. I would anticipate that a grantee might still apply to us above and beyond what they need from the relief fund. For example, we have some grantees that have open grants right now that we're talking to about other programs, and they intend to apply for the relief fund. So in my mind, I do think so in my mind, I see it that you could apply for both, at least from our standpoint. Isaiah, is there anything you want to add for other?
Yeah, I will not attempt to answer for United Way. What I will say is that this fund was stood up specifically to do three things, or for three priorities: assisting with immediate anticipated needs related to COVID-19, maintaining and expanding internal operations for organizations or nonprofits that are responding to COVID-19, and building in additional capacity, volunteer capacity, for organizations that are doing work related to COVID-19. I know for sure the work we're doing right now will impact the work that we're going to do as a community moving forward, but without question, the needs in the future are going to be very different, and I don't think anyone could forecast what those needs are. So I'd imagine that many folks will apply for resources that will be something for the next 5 to 10 weeks, and then have to come back to an organization like a community foundation to figure out how we move forward together. And we look forward to working with folks through that process.
Let me see. top 3 priorities, we just covered that. I don't think I missed anything. I'm not seeing any others, but we'll linger here for a second because just about the time we say we're going to end, some more questions come in.
If you are looking, I'll just fill a little space. If you are looking to help find the fund and the donation information, so on loveflint.org, you can there's a donate now button. All of that information, the links you can be able to post on your Facebook, share with it. And if you want to help in your own ways, I've had a few people reach out to see how they can help with their own circles. It's something we can do. So my contact information we can post. It's also on the website, or the relief fund at cfgf.org email will get to me as well.
Awesome. I'm not seeing any others. Any closing remarks, Isaiah? Anything you want to, or anyone, Sue or Karima, before we close out?
I'll allow Karima and Sue to go first. I'll be really brief at the end.
Sure, and I'll just say, if you have any questions, please contact us. Jamie Lee are available as well. Our goal as partners is really to be as responsive as possible to the needs of our nonprofits in order to serve folks during this crisis. So don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. We also intend to be as responsible as possible on our applications. Tried to make it as streamlined, so we hope that's helpful. We just know that there's a lot of folks on the front lines doing a lot of great work, and our community, we need to support them in that. I do hope, that just even in what we've seen really strong proposals, anything from helping to provide services online to general operating. I hope the fund continues to grow so that we can help folks even beyond these immediate needs. I do anticipate that, $700,000, at least at where we're at, won't go very far. It'll go pretty fast. So there's still definitely a need. But really excited to work with all of you, and thank you for all of the hard work you're doing.
Thank you as well. Isaiah, we like your shirt, so it's your turn.
So I'll just end by saying I am blessed to lead an organization that's focused on engaging people in the world of philanthropy. And that's giving time and talent and treasure to make the community we love a better place to live in and work in and contribute to. And if you've heard me speak, you probably heard me say that before. In times like this, we really have to depend on one another for our time, our talent, and our treasure. And so we know that there are tons of people on the front lines. I mean, it makes me think of our fund partner of Hurley and the folks at Hurley and Melanie Gavalik and the folks over there that are on the front lines doing amazing work. And then the blessing that I have of being able to work from home while still supporting the community I love, but I can work from home. And I get to be thankful to a 20-member staff and a 26-member board of trustees that supports this work. Even more specifically, our 20-member staff, 100% of our staff have given a gift to this fund specifically. Because we know in times like this, we have to come together and we have to figure out what we do to make sure our community is better. We're stronger together, we're better together, and we need one another. So if you don't have time to, you can't leverage talent in order to make it make this work happen. I'd encourage you or invite you. We have gifts from $5 to $500,000 in the fund. I'd encourage you to support because there are a number of folks that are impacted negatively by the crisis, and our resources, our time, our talent, and more specifically our treasure is the thing that's going to pull some folks through. So Stephen, to you and Tim and the folks at the chamber, thank you all for having us today. We continue to push on our end, and we're just thankful to have partners like you that are pushing with us.
It's a pleasure, honestly, to get this message out. It's so important. We've heard from so many small businesses, nonprofits. The community needs us. I see one more question here. Can I ask it? It says, is there a minimum donation for potential fund partners, Karima?
There is no donation for fund partners. Our fund partners aren't required to donate to become fund partners. What is required to become a fund partner is to encourage others to join with us to cross promote. Donations are certainly encouraged by all means, but that is not a requirement for a fund partnership. This is a true partnership because we care about working together to make this fund work. We recognize the donors on our website, and They're tiered, so you can also donate anonymously by name or anonymously by contribution, and that's something we can work together. So absolutely, contact me and let's talk, because it sounds like we could have a great conversation.
Yeah, the need is huge. That I can't say it enough. The need is huge. So I want to say thanks to all of you for taking part. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for everyone who joined us. I know we got the Facebook Live started a little late, but the full recording will be shared on our site just as soon as we're able. We'll make sure and include contact information for the folks here from the Community Foundation. And if there are any more questions, feel free to reach out to us, the Community Foundation, whatever. We're going to get the questions to the appropriate places. And if there's nothing else,
Stephen, if you don't mind, if I know we're going to close out, but if we can leave it open for a couple of minutes, there's a couple of questions that are coming in that I'm typing responses to that I would love to finish up.
Okay. Yeah. You want to answer them verbally too? What's it? Oh, no.
He took himself off of.
Oh, he's thinking out loud, so.
Yeah. Isaiah, you're on mute. Oh, there.
No, this whole mute and unmute is hard. But yeah, the last question that I was responding to said, could funding support or assist with our staff layoffs? And right now, the fund focus, again, I said the three priority areas. One, immediate anticipated needs related or gaps for around direct service, internal operations for infrastructure of critical nonprofits responding, and support for volunteer capacity were the three areas. We are working with partners, including the chamber, on maybe standing up a fund that may support in those ways. But those costs, I mean, we're talking $700,000 for this fund. We need a minimum of $10 million in order to stand up a fund to really do that work appropriately around staff layoffs and assisting with support for staff layoffs. So we're thinking about it. We are working with partners to try to stand up something to fill those gaps. But at this time, we can't make any promises around that in the future. And I know for sure we can't make promises for that funding to happen out of this fund. So I apologize. Again, we're working really hard, but that's not something we can respond to at this time.
Okay. I told you, as we start to close out, some more come in. If it's appropriate, if we have this conversation again in, a few weeks, whatever, I see that we had about 80 folks in the Zoom webinar, and then I don't know how many are watching live. So there's definitely an interest. Last call. Going.
All good.
Isaiah, you think we're good?
Yep. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Again, this will be on our site. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Community Foundation. You guys are working hard. Anything that we can do to support, we're here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.